Okay, Johnny. Obviously, we have a tour of the Caribbean. Yeah. Very good profile. How important is this in terms of the commercial structure of CWA?
I think it's always important. I think this year probably more than ever because of the fact that last year was such a bad year for us financially. Playing Sri Lanka at home and Bangladesh at home for the contract that we have with our TV crew, which is probably about 50% of our revenue comes from TV. Bangladesh and Sri Lanka are the worst value within that deal. So to have got through last year, we ran all our programs from under 15s, 17s, 19s. We had two A-team tours, which was what we felt really important to establish as almost the minimum that we do every year. Was tough. So last year was financially horrible, and therefore this year with England and India coming after the World Cup it'll be a record year for the West Indies. So England's always important, but certainly after the 2018 season we had, where we probably had the lowest revenues we've had for decades, to then suddenly be able to jump into this means that we'll come at the end of this year back at sort of par score, which is good from a business point of view.
Can you put direct figures behind how much you lost last year as opposed to how much you expect to gain with India and England?
So the swing's probably about 20 million. So we probably lost $20 million last year, and we'll make $20 million this year, more than we would normally expect. So that will get us back into par position by the end of this year. But it was a difficult decision for the board to back us to say that run all the cricket programs, especially with the World Cup qualifiers that came in March. Would have been a really easy decision for us to say we can't host Bangladesh. We're going to the World Cup instead, and the World Cup was expensive for us. We have to fly our players business class. We have to put them in single rooms now, and that ICC qualifier being the next rung down, it's twin rooms and economy flights. So and getting all the way to Harare is not easy from the Caribbean. So probably the World Cup qualifiers cost us in excess of 250,000, probably with match fees and everything. Not short of probably $1 million US on that, but we got what we wanted there. So we're in the World Cup, which is obviously great, which means this year for us is massive. Having an England tour of this size, looking ahead for the next 5 years is unprecedented to get them in all three formats. So to get 3 tests, 5 one-day internationals and 3 T20s, then to have the World Cup in England, where we've obviously won twice, and then to host India at home. It'll be the first game we're playing in this new Test Championship, and we're against the best team in the world. And leading into CPL, it's a massive amount of cricket for us. And the women's team leave tomorrow to Pakistan. They've got a tour there. We've got a tour against England for the women, and then Australia come here in September. So it's and we're working on our A-team content. We want to get Bangladesh here in May, June to play against the A-team. So and Graham West is already working hard on the under-19 program, making sure that we can go to that event, which unearths so many players to the West Indies. I think it's a big year of cricket at all levels, and it's great to see Hetmar and Joseph and guys that have come through that under-19, playing here at Kensington. So big year of cricket, big year financially, and by the end of it we'll be back on an even keel and looking ahead to the next phase, which is, as I said, a new ODI league, new Test Championship, and for us a new TV deal. So lots of work to be done.
There's some people though who are still complaining Jamaica and Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, especially with England coming down, and they haven't had a test against the English in those venues for a very, very long time in the Caribbean, as opposed to. I know it's very difficult to stage cricket in the Caribbean.
Yeah, it's not the easiest process, and even though this year is a bumper year revenue, it's massively important that we make significant profits this year because of the losses last year. So whilst there is lots of money flowing from this England tour and lots more to come against India, we've got to run a really conservative year to make sure that we can repay the debt from last year. So to that extent, our ethos is very much we want to take cricket throughout the Caribbean. Lots of countries get CPL cricket, some don't. With this tour, yes, we've had fantastic government support from the governments that are hosting these games. Due to the fact the 7,000 English here will be here for a week or 2 weeks, the economic impact is enormous, as well as all the eyes that are on Barbados for the next few days. So I think it's never easy, but my intention is very much that, and the recommendation to the board will be that the India tour very much goes to those countries that have missed out. we've been working after the hurricane relief game that we had at Lords to get and help as much as we can, which is never easy. Dominica and the countries affected so badly by Irma and Maria to get back up to hosting cricket, and we're going to try and get some games to Dominica. We know that the West Indies Championship's going there in a couple of weeks' time, which is great to see. And look, I'd be very surprised if Guyana, Jamaica, Trinidad don't get Indian games, and rightly so, because we've got a lot of cricket this year, and it's important that we share that around the territorial boards and share it around the local associations. And we're not far off that Women's World T20, so Ghana had that. We had our Super 50 in Trinidad. We had a lot of A-team cricket last year in Jamaica. So, yeah, look, there's a lot of cricket to go around, and it's not an easy, simple process. It's one that takes a lot of time, and we do rely on the government relations. And India's a very attractive tour. The Indian tourism market is flying further from India than it ever has done in the past. Indians love West Indies cricket. Many of them have never been here before. So in terms of tapping into a new tourism market for the Caribbean, India is still an attractive opportunity and option. So some governments have been very open, saying that they would really want to host India over England. So it's something we're conscious of. But again, as I say, we've got lots of cricket to share around, and our intention with international cricket is very much to make sure that everyone gets a sort of a fair share.
The revenue?
Tell us a little bit about the revenue for the potential revenue here in Barbados, for example.
We commissioned an independent report a few years ago that said the economic impact of an England tour was approximately $5 million a day. I think we've $5 million a day of economic impact
For here in Barbados.
for the England tour last time round. So, I think probably the more England fans here than have been here previously. So in 2017, I think we're up to 7,000 at least here, just for the cricket. Which, I think people probably would have been here in their masses if it wasn't for hotel accommodation and flight availability. I think this whole past week has been full with BA and Virgin Atlantic, and lots of the hotel rooms are full and overflowing, which is fantastic. So, with this game, with the 2 one-day internationals to come, you're looking at, probably almost, conservatively $30-40 million worth of economic impact, which is brilliant, not just for Barbados, but also there are millions of people back in the UK watching it. The cricket, it's such a good time zone for England fans. They're coming home from school, they're coming home from work. It's bitterly cold and grey and miserable in the UK, and I can say that as an Englishman. And they're switching on to watch, Pakistan's in Kensington, West Indies playing in the maroon cap against England, and they've had a day at work at school. It doesn't get any better than that. And I'm sure there's lots of fans thinking, I wish I could be out here, but I need to get back to the Caribbean, or I've never been to the Caribbean. I need to come here on holiday. And going on holiday, if you're UK now, the world is a much smaller place. So there's the Far East, there's obviously Europe on your doorstep. The Caribbean needs to continue to attract UK tourists, and hopefully through cricket, and talking to Crofty earlier about USA cricket and the opportunities there. The US market, Canada market, and UK is still so important to the Caribbean, and cricket's a great platform and shop window for all of these countries to showcase everything that they've got, which is so unique to the Caribbean. And we think that cricket's a really important part of that. Yes, the sun, the sea, and sand, and Caribbean, music and food and culture, but cricket is so part of that story and represents, Caribbean culture in such a fantastic way, especially when the scoreboard's 100 for 1. So, fingers crossed the team can build the momentum that we feel we got under the Women's World T20. If you'd said to me, would we pack the stands in St Lucia and Antigua, for games where West Indies aren't playing and for women's cricket, I would have probably said we'll be optimistic and ambitious, but probably realistic in our expectations. And I think it's fair to say that what we saw in the Women's World T20, both through how our team played their cricket, but also how the people came out and supported it, was brilliant. And we hope this England tour is the same. So hopefully, if the scoreboard keeps looking this way and people can get off work early on Friday and Saturday, we'll see, this stadium become more Caribbean focused, and more of the public will come out. And a Wednesday start with a Monday bank holiday. If you're a working person in Barbados, the schedule hasn't made it very easy for you to probably come to the first few days, but we hope by Friday afternoon and Saturday certainly that Barbadian fans come out in their thousands and get behind the team.
The revenue situation with the board raises the whole question of commercial sponsorship as it relates to your funding of your. Because you raised a million things that the board does, whether it's age groups programs going from under 15 to under 19, regional super 50 first class championship, which has been extended. How difficult has the CWA found it in terms of attracting commercial sponsorships to fund a lot of these programs and therefore offset maybe some of CWA's losses?
Yeah, I mean, look, we unveiled a strategic plan that the board signed off a year ago, and if I'm honest, trying to deliver an ambitious strategic plan in 2018 where you've got a significant reduction in your revenues is very, very difficult. We also had an enormously important event in the Women's World T20 to make sure that we did an amazing job there, proving to the world that the Caribbean can host international sport and that Caribbean fans still want to come and watch cricket. And I think that was achieved, but it probably did delay us in our overall plan. We restructured the commercial team and brought in a new commercial director. We were delighted that Sandals came in and replaced Digicel and supported us and bought into what we're trying to do. I think it's really important that we have Caribbean companies supporting the West Indies. We want them to promote and help promote the sport in the region. And you get that more with Caribbean companies than you would international companies or companies that don't operate within the region. But it is a challenge. I think we've made some good progress. We've got Betway as a new partner. We're about to announce 2 new sponsors, we hope, in the next few months. We're advanced negotiations there, and a couple of which of those are, behind the scenes, and it won't be that obvious. They're structurally for us, they're really critical. We've got, as I said, this new broadcast arrangements finish this year. So from 2020 onwards, we've got really a blank sheet of paper. So our ambition is to very much try and balance what we're defining as sort of reach and revenue. So, there's certain mediums that we want the sole focus to be reach. So we want to make sure that cricket is accessible to everyone in the Caribbean. And I'm a passionate believer that radio still is an amazing channel and one that is nothing to do with money and revenue. We just need to get Caribbean people watching cricket, and we've prioritised online streaming and coverage of all of our championship cricket and 50 over cricket. We've got ESPN Caribbean doing the 50 over games, and all the other games are streamed live. We've streamed all of our women's games with commentary live, and it's really important that we get cricket into the homes, into the workplaces, and people watching it. That said, it is still 40% of our revenue, and we're non-profit making. So yes, we don't sit on massive reserves, which from a business planning point of view is not ideal, and we do want to grow reserves to help manage the peaks and troughs, because we don't really control India, England, and when these tours come. So you want to be able to ride those bumps in revenue. But we also want to make sure that we invest in all levels of cricket. And I think we haven't invested enough in schools cricket in particular, at secondary school level. Scotiabank support and the kiddie cricket program is, and I can say this, is a genuinely world-class program, and primary school cricket through kiddies cricket is fantastic. But secondary school cricket and club cricket, as Australia, England, it's becoming more difficult. People don't have time to volunteer. Facilities need lots of money spent on them to be upkept. We want to grow women's cricket within all club cricket, which means we need to have newer facilities in terms of male and female changing rooms, female toilets, all these things that many clubs don't have the resources to do. So, and as I say, it's not just a challenge for West Indies cricket. Same in England. People have less time. People are busier. Playing all day on a Saturday and Sunday with busy lives. People are working hard. Families. It's a challenge, and cricket needs to adapt to that. So, a big focus for us in our plan is to invest in secondary school cricket in particular and club cricket, because that's ultimately which. Yes, we have the finishing schools, as I would call them, which is your national under-15s, where you can play for Barbados under-15s, 17s and 19s, which is great. But you're learning your cricket through club cricket and secondary school cricket, and that's where we have to get the interest and engagement in the sport through primary school, softball, plastic bats. Get people active in the Caribbean. Cricket is a great enabler for that. I believe that cricket and the values of cricket teach young people some really important life lessons around rules and discipline and respect, and cricket has a really big part to play in that, as well as, let's face it, teaching the history of the Caribbean. We should celebrate our past and our successes and make sure that every young person in the Caribbean has a knowledge of that. So I think our challenge is, how do we spend more money and work more in partnership with the governments to get club cricket and secondary school cricket properly funded. Jimmy Adams has worked really well with the University of West Indies, so now we've got our own foundation courses, our own level 1 coaching courses and our own level 2 courses, which will be new this year, where Caribbean players, Caribbean coaches can come through our own coaching courses and get up to level 2 qualified, tertiary signed off by UWE. And we're working on a new elite coaching program for our professional coaches who are level 3 qualified. It's not quite to the level of the ECB level 4, but it's a dedicated program where we'll handpick the top 6 coaches in the region and give them a whole range of tools that they can do. So instead of being an assistant coach or a good head coach, really give them the help and support they need to become an international head coach. And I think we can say this, that we want to get Caribbean coaches involved in the roles within the Caribbean. We don't want to rely on overseas coaches, and we're not saying that overseas coaches don't have a role in terms of specialist positions like a Mushtaq Ahmed, etc. But we want to get Caribbean coaches back coaching at all levels within the Caribbean, including the Caribbean Premier League. And coach education is a big part of that. So we need to upskill our coaches, give them support. Being a head coach now isn't about being a technical coach. You've got to be amazing at planning. It's non-stop cricket, especially if you're coach of all 3 formats. I know Ashley Giles in England was saying, maybe they might, when Trevor Bayliss steps down, they might split test coach and white ball coach. And you look at that schedule from 2019 through to 2023, and there's very little time off. So your head coach has to be a man manager, a leader, very good understanding of sports science and medicine, not just technically good at coaching cricket. You've got to be able to speak to the media. There's lots of things that you need to be a head coach now, which...
Regarding the head coach, I'm sorry to interrupt, but to what extent would the reality that the global success or the success West Indies have had in global tournaments have all come under regional head coaches, to what extent does that influence this idea of no one to get back to that?
Well, I think it's a fact for starters, so I think we have to accept and acknowledge that. And I think there's amazing talent in the Caribbean, and we should celebrate that and promote that. And it's not just about head coaches; it's about all different, from on and off the field. And we also need to recognise that, yes, it's about experience, but we also need to give people the support, and that's why coach education is so important. So you can't expect someone who's been coaching at a junior level, whatever, suddenly to step up to professional cricket, or someone who's been a specialist coach to suddenly become a head coach and instantly understand all the challenges and stuff. So we need to provide more support, and coach education is something that it's been a gap in our system and something that we're looking to fill.
Has there been enough emphasis though on having top level coaching, whether it be regional or international, personnel, to have that high level coaching at the very bottom of the ladder, so to speak, at the junior level, the primary school, the age group level, so to speak?
I think because we didn't have our own coaching education system, we relied very much on the English system or the Cricket Australia system. We would have to fly in coaches from Australia or England to deliver these courses, which meant they were very, very expensive. So by default, we didn't do enough of them. So we want to be running regularly a calendar of foundation courses, level 1 courses, which will predominantly help primary school coaches or primary school sports teachers. And then level 2 and level 3, when you're starting to move into being able to coach the best within a club, the best within a school, or in the territorial boards or CPL franchises. And then, as I say, once you get to that level 3 and you've got some experience, that's when we really want to come in and support the next level, so that our coaches do understand sports science, nutrition, leadership, motivation, logistic, all the things that you need to do as a head coach, that they're given support to do that. And I think if we can do that, then when we go through a recruitment process, which will be open to everyone, we're more likely to get candidates from the Caribbean. I'm sure the head coach training will also involve interview techniques and CV writing. All these things are important factors which we don't want the Caribbean coaches to be at a disadvantage. And if you're coming from outside of the world, you've probably had all these courses thrown at you, so your CV is well polished, your interview technique is honed, you've probably got a presentation on how you're a head coach that you can present, and we want our Caribbean coaches to have that, so that when our independent panels are looking at the coaches, that our Caribbean coaches are selling themselves and their skills, so that there's more of them working in the system.
Speaking of more, in terms of closing the gap between the regional and international level, a finishing academy or something that can work soon.
Yeah, well, it operates now at the Coolidge Cricket Ground in Antigua, so we bought that in partnership with the government of Antigua and Barbuda. If any of you saw the training matches and warm-up matches in World T20, unfortunately it didn't host Super 50 this year. That went to Barbados and Trinidad because of the clash with the Women's World T20. But the Coolidge Cricket Ground now, in terms of a cricket facility, its outfield, its pitches, its square, is in really good condition. We're running a number of high-performance camps. So the under-19s were there a few weeks ago. The women have been there for the past 3 weeks. We've got a big A-team emerging players and high-performance program going to be in April and May, leading into that A-team tour where we're hosting Bangladesh, we hope, just waiting for that to be confirmed. And Coolidge will become a real base for us. We're going to move our offices there. And hopefully we've got very ambitious plans to develop that site. So we're looking at high-performance gym, indoor facility and everything. So yeah.